The Drive-By Podcast, episode 21, is sponsored by Playground. Check out the Chase the Ace game show every Sunday as draws begin every half hour beginning at 1 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. And then you join me as your host, Freeway Frank, and all our weekly Sunday winners, 15 of them every single weekend as they chase a $25,000 progressive jackpot where one winner will eventually walk away with the lucky keys on finale night, July 3rd, to a fully electric Mazda MX-30 GT. You can check out all the details at playground.ca for all the promotions that are happening. And listen in a little later on in this podcast. I'll tell you more about Canada's top destination for electronic gaming devices and one of the premier poker spots in North America everybody talks about. We'll see you at Playground.
This is the Drive-By with Freeway Frank.
Derek Seguin is at my house. What's up, brother? You are fucking, what a shocker.
Yeah, nice house, too.
You're here.
Good
Thanks,
for
man.
you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on all your former success.
Derek walked in, and I said to him, and he goes, yeah, it's a nice place. I go, yeah, well, I used to have a job. So thanks for rubbing it in. That was great. But Derek, I have to say, first of all, I really appreciate you being here. One of the last times I saw you, you were on my morning show when I had an employment on Virgin Radio. I always thought you were hilariously funny. The first time I heard you, you were on TSN with Mitch Melnick.
Yeah.
Because you go on with Mitch a lot, and I respect Mitch a lot.
Apparently, I have the record.
How many times have you been on?
I don't know the number, but every time I go on, he's like, he's been on more than anybody else. And I'm like, bro, I have never played a sport. You're really doing a shit job of your show here.
So you don't even talk about sports when you're on there?
I talk about sport gambling sometimes, but...
Oh, that you do?
No, yeah.
A little bit of that.
I kind of do.
Yeah, I may have hit a 3-game parlay last night. I'm just saying. Edmonton Oilers.
Good for you.
This won't mean much after this airs, but I think Edmonton, I took Tampa over Toronto, and I took the Phoenix Suns. So it was a good night. It was my first bet since the Super Bowl, but you don't give a shit about that. One of the reasons that, as I said, I thought from the first time I heard you, this guy's funny. Like, I mean funny. Everything that, comedians are funny, but dude, you're just such you're a natural.
Thanks.
And I really,
I know.
I'm buttering you up here.
Yeah, I feel like I fucking should be saying something funny right now.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of time. You live in my area, so for people watching outside of Quebec or the Montreal area, I live in an area called Brossard, so he lives literally around the corner. I thought Derek was coming here because he told me I'm going to come with my bike. And I was thinking, this he's a pretty cool guy. I think it's a motorcycle, but it might be a bike. I don't know. Then when you showed up...
You hadn't watched enough of my act.
No.
You thought it was a bicycle.
I thought it was a bicycle.
I was going to do exercise on his way over. No.
But you know what I did? I went to the window, and I saw you, and I almost went like this, because I did see your act, and I go, okay, thank God. It's a good thing. So I'm surprised we haven't run into each other around here, because I hear that you're big on going to Costco and hanging out and doing that kind of stuff. So
sure, I pretend that I go to Costco. Come on, I'm successful still, Frank. I'm doing good still. I hire people to go do that shit for me.
You send people to go for you.
Yeah, no, I'm there. I do all the thing. Actually, it's usually if I'm doing anything that's show business related, I don't even usually wear a hat, because I want to have those two things. And I'm not that big of a star that I get recognized.
But you're known.
But when I'm like décollé, hungover, my hat's crooked like that, I see I have fucking spaghetti on my shirt, that's when people are like, hey, are you Derek Seguin? Tabarnak. No. He's doesn't have brain damage. No.
But is it almost like a blessing in disguise in a way? Because, I felt bad for the kids wearing masks, but in a way, like you said, when you don't want anybody to know you, you just put on the mask.
Oh, shit.
Nobody sees it's Derek Seguin,
Huh. That's why I haven't been so unrecognized. Yep. So no, it doesn't really happen that often. But when it does happen, it always feels like at the airport. You just see, that's how fucked up I am. My hat's crooked. I didn't even notice. I'm just going to leave it like that. At the airport, like you've just done a week of show, whatever, and you're like, oh, you throw shit in. You ever get home from like staying away somewhere and you get home and like the coffee maker from your hotel room's in your bag because you were in such a fucking panic and just, everything in the bag, we gotta get out of here.
Panic where you stole it?
You get like a one sock on, let's see, you show up, and then you're picking up your bag like, hey, are you Derek Seguin? I'm like, oh God, I was yesterday, but now I'm really not feeling like it.
So Derek, from the... The first time I saw you talking about COVID and the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Quebec government asked you to participate in, strange candidate, I thought to myself, but you did do it, right? So
I did.
How did that happen?
You thought the same as me. I thought I was a strange candidate. Like, wait a minute, what's this? It's a PSA? Okay, what's it about? Like, am I the, like... I almost assumed that they would have me going there doing all the wrong things and like, don't be a Derek Seguin. But no, they wanted me to be like, stay home, everybody. We're gonna get through this together. It's like all the things. And I was like, all right, I don't know if people are gonna buy it. They're gonna think this is sarcastic, like when I'm saying, hey, everybody, it's fun to drink at home. Why don't you just stay in? Tell your mom she can come next year. Whatever. I like what I was doing. They had me walking around in my underwear. I'm like, okay, so you guys do know who I am. And this is, but at the time I wanted it like everybody.
Yeah.
See, and when was that? That was like December. Was like 9 months into it when we shot the thing. It was like November, December 2020. So like we all wanted it to be finished. So I was all on board. Like whatever we need to do to get this fucking finish. So yeah, I'll do that. Plus, they pay me really well, and
so
I hadn't worked in 9 months. So I'm like, yeah, I'll what else do you want me to tell? Do you want me to tell people to like if I can start using rubbers? I don't care. You're giving me 40 grand, yeah.
So wow, that much, huh?
I don't know what
something like that. You don't remember. Penny change. When they came to you though, and they offered you that, like, did you like? I'll be the first to admit it. You were having a cigarette outside the front of my house just a couple of minutes ago. We were all talking about it. When the COVID first hit. Like I was really, as a germaphobe, I was really freaking out. Like people were coming over to my house, delivering shit. I was like, back away. I was wiping down everything, like literally every grocery item. If they contacted you like that in the beginning, were you scared like everybody else? I mean, were you from the beginning, you were just, from the start, you weren't convinced about what you saw?
It wasn't not being convinced. It was, I'm not a scientist or anything, but they're like, oh, it's a flu. It's a really bad flu. And I'm like, okay. And then, no, like really bad. It's going to kill like 3 times as many people as the regular flu. And I'm like, well, I've had at least 3 flus and never died. So I'm like, I don't, listen, I smoke a lot. I drink a lot. I make a lot of bad life decisions. I'm like, if my own lifestyle hasn't killed me, I'm pretty sure a fucking little bit is not gonna. Like, I wasn't that worried about it.
Mosquito.
In fact, like I didn't get it for 2. I just had it about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, 6 weeks ago. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were six hours ago.
No, now apparently I'm bulletproof apparently for at least 3 months. But the running joke around my house and even on stage, I would talk about like, I think my lifestyle is actually the vaccine. Fuck you, Pfizer. You smoke a lot, you drink a lot, you eat like 7 poutine a week. Yeah. The virus can't live in here. The virus needs a hospitable host. I do not provide. I can barely live in this shit. The virus comes in my mouth and goes, oh God, it's so smoky in here. How am I supposed to live? And then when I finally got COVID, usually people get COVID, you're like, oh man, you take care, all right? Vitamin C, do echinacea. Yeah. I got COVID, everyone's like, poor COVID. Fuck. Jesus, that COVID's going to have a rough week.
Yeah. So who came up with the whole, I noticed you're wearing your, which I thought was brilliant. I'm sure it was you. Because there's no way the Quebec government came up with this, the Panderek.
Yeah, Panderek.
How did that come about?
Just pandemic sounded like
Panderek. That's it. Yeah, there's nothing brilliant behind it. It's just
no. I just started because I wanted when they shut us down. Comics, we weren't able to work anymore.
That must have been hard.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I love what I do for a job so much that if I don't do it, I get like twitchy. My kids know. Like in the summertime, I'll often take 2-3 weeks off in a row. Yeah. But by the end of the 3rd week, I'm like, tabarnak, I don't even like my own offspring. I'd rather go talk to strangers about these fuckface. You know what I mean? So I couldn't not do stand-up. So I just started doing these online shows, not knowing anything. I didn't know the technology. Zoom was brand new because businesses needed to adjust. So all of a sudden people told me about Zoom. So I just started doing these shows online, and I was overwhelmed with the amount of people that wanted to come and watch this online shit where like by the end I'm hammered. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying.
So what are you doing? Like because I didn't get a chance to see them. I was in Arizona during the time. So you're in your house.
That's not an excuse. It's fucking Zoom, Frank, you asshole.
I know. I'm an
Like,
asshole.
I don't have time for that shit.
And here I am. I actually know who Derek is and the stuff he's done. And I wasn't there for him during the pandemic. I wasn't there for me during the pandemic.
He couldn't spare $1.
$1, yeah. I'll give it to you after this. So how does that work? It's like a corporate gig. They hire you, and then you just show up on Zoom, and then there's people. Everybody's at home, and you're doing. How does that work? Or is it just
for the stand-up? You mean?
Yeah, stand up on Zoom during the pandemic or
these shows, these Panderek shows were my shows. I did them myself.
Okay.
So I would go on my social media and be like, I'm doing a show on whatever. There's dates on the back of the shirt. I'll show the shirt. The back of the shirt. It's interesting. So.
Tour dates: Kitchen, March 28th. Kitchen, April 17th. Shangri-La, May 22nd. Shangri-La, June 12th.
So Shangri-La is my backyard. Shangri-La.
Oh, nice.
I've set up the backyard.
Nice.
And the kitchen. That's where I was doing the shows from. Just at my house with talking to my laptop, whatever, up on furniture. And people would buy tickets. And the way I set it up, I lucked out. Again, like so many things, I've been so lucky just to do this job. My online Panderek existence was so lucky that I just throw something together. I'm like, okay, I want to do Zoom, but I don't want to have like 100 people on Zoom. You can't see you're filing through things. So I'll limit 25 people that I could see, so they all fit on one screen.
Okay.
And the rest will be on YouTube live. And I charged $5 for YouTube and $10 for Zoom. But it was pay what you want. Like if you want to pay $1, go ahead, pay $1. Well, people didn't want. They wanted to give me more. They're like, I'm so glad you're doing this. That's amazing. Here's $20. And I was like, I was making the first one. I mean, I did it March 28th or whatever. It was only 2 weeks. Like I wasn't dying for money yet. And so I made so much money that I was like, okay, I'm going to start giving the money to other comedians. And then people started sending me more money. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to pay tax on this shit. Stop sending me money. Because comedians are proud too. And it's only been 2 weeks since we hadn't worked. But the setup ended up being great. As I'm saying, making it pay what you want was great because it ended up generating more than what I even thought I would. And the number of people that were coming, like you're saying you were in Arizona, so you didn't show up. I had people from Taiwan, Australia, all over Europe, all over the States, like Minnesota and Florida and California and where St. Louis is, whatever that, Missouri? Yeah.
What did you call it?
I'm like, how did they even know who I am? Like I didn't.
It is pretty amazing.
And it's that Sirius XM thing. It's all of North America, so they get sick of their Comedy Central. They'll switch to the Canadian one.
So you're on the Canadian Sirius XM? Yeah. Because I was on that back like 15 years ago when it first launched. That's out of Toronto. So you're on the comedy channel?
It's called JFL Canada now.
Oh, JFL Canada.
Yeah, JFL bought the sort of the naming rights or whatever to the thing.
That's cool.
Just take off my watch. I keep banging. It's going to be so noisy.
Oh, that's okay. Is it a good watch? You could leave it here after.
No, it's not good.
So you're doing this. People are paying you money. You're on, and it's pretty wild. The thing that's wild, and I haven't done it yet. I mean, I've done Instagram Lives where nobody gave me anything, but some nights, man, during the pandemic, I had 1,500, 1,600 people. I'm like, what are all these people doing?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's wild because I think we all went through the same thing, right? We were all struggling, and we were all kind of there for each other. So as a humorist, as they say in French, you were there providing the laughter for everybody, and you have that talent and ability. So it transcends, internationally, because fucking people are watching you from Thailand. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's going through it at the same time, and you're the pulse of what's happening.
And it was a new thing created from the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, I'm sure there's like people can watch stand up on YouTube or Netflix or whatever. There's like recorded special. This was just the best we could do that was comparable to what we did before, which is live stand-up in a room full of people. Now we're not allowed to do that. So the live element, I think people were like, yes, I want to see a live show right now, and maybe Derek will shit his pants tonight. You never know. Let's watch what's going to happen. And they went great. I ended up doing 11 of them over the course of the almost 2 years.
That's amazing.
And like you asked before, but I did a lot of the corporate ones too.
Yeah. How does that work? So that's not the same, and you have to, I'm sure, because it's corporate, they give you some kind of bullshit rules. Yeah. So what do they? Can you give an example of something they would say that they don't want you to touch on?
It varies from client to client, but like the big guys like banks and insurance company and things like, they don't want you talking about politics or religion or swearing. No swearing at all. Like you gotta. It's like a weird negotiation. Like I don't know if you've ever had the mispleasure of negotiating a divorce, but it's like, all right,
no, not yet.
Can I have 2 fucks and a shit? And they're like, no, we'll go with 1 fuck and maybe 2 shits. And you're like, all right, that's great. What about 1 penis? If you say penis, it's fine. You say cock, you're fucking dead. So it's.
And I'm sure they didn't want you to. I mean, some humor about what was happening with the pandemic, but not, your opinions, your honest opinions about what was happening, of course.
Listen, I'm very lucky. A lot of comedians they get so uppity about I will not be censored, and luckily. I don't want to upset people. Like there's comedians who that's their whole act. Like Jeselnik, Anthony Jeselnik.
Yeah.
He wants to say the most horrific thing that makes people go like, "Oh my god!" Like
Jimmy Carr.
I'm not. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, well, Jimmy Carr is still very clever.
Very clever.
For me, I just want like the masses. I want to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Like if you've paid $15 for your ticket, you're just as worthy as somebody who's more, comedy savvy perhaps than you are. But so I try not to pick side because especially this COVID thing, I've said, I don't talk about necessarily my side. I will talk about how my observation of how it split people, like brothers and sisters and parents and children, because of their opinion or whatever dogma got into their mind about masks or vaccine or whatever. Also, I'm inherently lazy, so I even say often, like, I was against most of the mandate, but I'm also not like a protesty kind of guy. Unless the protest swing by my house and pick me up and like somebody else is making my fucking Bristol board or whatever, I'm not going to be out there like rallying the troops or whatever. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to do whatever I want anyway. So.
How do you think, okay, I mean, they employed you. They give you, apparently, they gave you 40 grand, what you said, or something like that.
Yeah, it was good money.
Yeah, it was good money. How do you think the Quebec government, when you look at it now, when you look back at it, and we could laugh about it.
I'm sure I signed an NDA of some kind that I'm totally breaking right now.
You'll find out shortly. How do you think they handled it? Like in terms of, as things were happening, because for me, the story got, I'll say it if Derek doesn't, the story got more and more ridiculous as time went on. We found out more things, and it got more and more ridiculous. And it just feels like now, even at the time of this recording of this podcast, we just recently opened things up. Now the mask mandates are dropping. When you look at how Quebec handled it, and you tour across Canada, you go province to province. Did they do a good job in your opinion? Oh, nice fucking question. Or did we overreact?
Man, I don't know. There's no denying that people died from it.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I mean, I don't like the way that anybody handled it. I'm still, even every conspiracy theory except for the really, really crazy ones that involve like not only that, but the earth is flat. Like you're like, all right, you had me for a second, and then
you mentioned that.
Who knows, Frank? I mean, the whole thing was shit. I don't envy those guys like François Legault as much as Justin Trudeau. These are not popular names to name.
Not on this podcast.
But what a shitty.
It is a tough spot to be in.
This whole new thing that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Did they do it right? Clearly not. I mean, get a vaccine, like, and it's what bothers me more, like that's their job. These guys are reading shit all day about the stuff, and they're telling, okay, we're gonna vaccine that's gonna fix everything, and so your friends are like, you get the fucking vaccine, you asshole. And I'm like, I don't think it's gonna take me. And if they come to my house and give me the vaccine, maybe then I'll do it, but I have to like put on pants and go to a place. I'm like, do I need to do that? But then the government says, if you don't get a vaccine, you can't go to the restaurant. I'm like, well, shit, give me the vaccine then. What am I gonna fucking cook every day? You crazy? I'm like, give me hepatitis. I don't give a shit. I need restaurants. Then they close the restaurant, and your friends are like, because they're so used to having this argument at work or whatever. Your friend, like, I had a friend, I've been friends with him for literally 40 years. Like, we played atom baseball together, and he was like, he's like, you getting the vaccine? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know what the. I've never gotten a flu shot before. I know it's a flu. He's like, oh, what if you trying to kill my mother? I'm like, bro, what do you mean kill your mother? See, last time I saw her, you let me 2-cheek kiss her, and you saw that ugly bitch I fucked in Wildwood in '93. I mean, you didn't like all of a sudden now you care about your mother. Fuck, I probably gave her herpes at least.
Yeah.
Crabs, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? The virtue signaling that came with it was just out of control. I just found like it was and I say it's still like it's not necessarily ended yet, but it was a wild time. It was just crazy shit, and people stopped, like you said, people stopped talking to each other. Luckily, my family, we were all on the same page, and not because I, tried to get anybody on my side or whatever, but we all had great conversations. Some of my closest friends got vaccinated, some didn't. I didn't stop, seeing them or treating people any differently. And was it the same with? I know your everyone lives now somewhere else?
No, just Jamie. My oldest is the only one that lives, and it's only been a few months that she's been in Calgary. Yeah.
And everybody, so Jamie's in Calgary. Your daughter,
Reese and Andy are still in my house,
and still in your house.
Yeah.
So how was that? Because I had Frank Spadone, who you did a gig with a couple of weeks back for this podcast, because it was a couple of weeks back, even though it was a couple of days ago. Yeah. And Frank was saying
well, his wife owns a dance studio.
Correct.
And
yes.
So we have that in common. My daughter was a dancer.
Oh, amazing.
So we used to talk about dance. We were like, we're at the same competition. This was great. And I'm like, I don't remember. I'm going to be drunk, Frank. I may not see.
But do you find? I asked Frank the same question, and the same thing with us. It wasn't easy being around your family, because you're a touring comic. You go do your gigs. It's nice to have family time, but then we had a lot of family time.
A lot of family time. A lot of fucking family time.
God is.
I came up with little strategy. They, and again, like I found all these people judging me for my lackadaisical approach to the whole COVID thing. My girlfriend would be like, you can't let Jamie go out. She's going out gallivanting. And I'm like, fuck, I would be gallivanting too. I mean, if I didn't have you pain in the ass telling me I have to stay home. I'm very live and let live when it comes to, and I often in my act, I always talk about my kid like I hate them or whatever, but I really don't. I enjoy my kid.
Of course.
I mean, that was a lot of time. Don't get me wrong. That was a lot. Yeah. Like when they would start criticizing my day-to-day, because my life didn't change that much, right? Yeah. Like, I only worked 6 hours a week before COVID. You know what I mean? I'm always just home. Now I just got my fucking family there judging me for what's my
6 hours a week.
My regular life.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, it's 3 o'clock. You're going to put on pants? I'm like, hey, fuck you. Usually I'm jerking off into the microwave right now. Fuck you. We're all making sacrifices here.
Did you start any new hobbies during?
I got really into home renovation things.
You did?
It's things that you've always wanted to do that you just never had a chance to do. So I had the time to do it. Sadly, I'd have to do cheap things because I had no money. I wanted to totally gut the kitchen, but I'm like, ooh, that sounds expensive.
So what do? You just start that on your own, or did you know some good Italian friend of yours that came over to help, but just did it on your own?
Just did it by myself. Everyone's so surprised by that.
I am very surprised by that, because I hired everybody that ever did any job for me, but not because, Derek, if I could do it on my own, I would. There's certain things.
How do you know you can't? Have you ever tried?
No, I haven't tried.
There you go.
When you get a feeling like you're dancing on the ceiling, that this, I just can't fucking do this.
That's what every man that I know tells me, except the ones that know that they can do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know shit. And then I was putting it on Instagram just because I felt like I need to put something out there. But I have so many friends that their Twitter game is so good. They're writing jokes on Twitter all the time. And I'm like, I don't do that. I take a shit and look at Twitter. That's hilarious. Oh, look, remember corn in your poop? Oh, so funny. So I was just trying to keep a social media presence. So I would put these projects that I was doing. And people were hiring me to do, like, fans would be like, oh my God, I have a deck that I want to build. And I'm like, well, I got some time on my hands. I'm going to come take a look.
Are you serious?
And I started doing things for other people.
That's amazing.
Building like flower boxes or pool decks or just a full deck.
That's amazing. I had a friend come over who did my flower boxes in the back or my garden boxes. And I helped out, and my wife, just, she's like, fucking good thing Mark was here. He had no idea I had no idea what I was doing. I tried. I was there to learn. It's kind of like when this studio came about. I know what's in the walls. I know how they did it. Yeah. I came up with some kind of idea for it, but it's just not my forte. You know?
While it was happening, I was like, I really like doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like
I didn't know what I was doing, but like I even started shooting a lot of video, thinking maybe I could pitch this to like HGTV or something later. Yeah. Like the show name that I was thinking would be Not to Code, because I don't know. I don't know the thing. Like Monday, I built my deck, so come out of my house. There's stairs going down. There's stairs going down from the patio door, and then I built this big deck. So under there, though, I'm like, there's entreposage. I could put lumber and things in there, furniture in the winter. But I'm like, it's so dark and dingy in there. I need a light, so I installed a light fixture. But everything was cheap. I just scrap that I had around the house, so I had this light fixture, whatever. So I just drilled it in there with a junction box. I'm like, oh shit, what if it rains? Because it wasn't an outdoor or anything. It was just the one that I had kicking around. I'm like, what if water comes? So I take it back down, and I took do you have a pool?
I don't. I have a hot tub.
Okay, so the chemical buckets that you get. So the big blue cover of the chemical bucket. Yeah. I just drilled that into the ceiling, and then drilled the light fixture into that. I'm like, look, you have a little fucking parapluie for your little electrical. The water can't get in there. So I'm sure that's not to code. I think the CSST would be like, that is probably not safe. But I'm like, it does the job for me.
That is fucking hilarious. Not to code. You got to pursue, like, honestly, you got to pitch somebody. Not to code. This is
sure.
We have Jared here, who's behind the season. Wouldn't that be great? I would invest in that.
YouTube show's fantastic. We might roll up a heart attack.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's where I learned how to do most of this. Like literally anything that you need that you would like to do, malpris. You just
like, are you offering me if I have
search
something
it on
to
YouTube?
Do? Yeah.
I'll come do it for you if you want, but you could do
I'll
it.
Hire you.
You have two arms. See?
No, hang on a sec. So
you watch a YouTube video. There's a YouTube video for everything.
There is, and I have, Derek, I'll be honest, I fixed a couple of things by watching YouTube videos, but now my toilet, I told Jared, don't use the toilet down here because it's been on the blink. I called the plumber last week. He came. He couldn't even fix it. He looked at it. He literally said, "Esti." He goes, "Si, jamais vu ça." Okay, so it's an infrared. It has an infrared, so you don't have to touch it. Okay. Very good during COVID. You go like that. It's American Standard. So now I have to call up fucking American Standard, try to figure out. But he goes, "Je sais pas, you got to order the whole fucking piece."
The head, yeah.
And then, see, he knows what he's talking about. So the head, and then he'll come and he'll replace it. But he can't just do, the infrared.
Well,
but look, I
think
did
that
look
says
at
more about you than the job at hand. Like buying a fucking computerized toilet. What a fucking asshole.
I don't know. I moved to Broadstreet. I became an asshole.
I'm good with construction type things, but this is a computer programming problem you have now.
Listen, I know it sounds asshole-ish, but the reason why I did it, okay, the real truth behind it is because I have a poker league and I have my buddies who come here. You saw the basement. And I didn't want, because I was a germaphobe, big germaphobe before COVID. I didn't want fucking people touching the toilet, not washing their hands, and touching the poker chips after.
You know what we should do, bro? We install a urinal in your bathroom, in your poker bathroom. I want to get a house big enough that I could have a urinal.
Okay, so somebody suggested that to me, and my wife said, that's disgusting. That's the first thing that came out of her. Why? Because...
Dude, I just gave you a solution to not have your wife come down into the fucking poker room.
That's it.
This is a winner.
You play poker, by the way? You're invited
totally,
anytime.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you told. Yeah. So a urinal. Would
you name a fucking bad habit, bro. I have it.
We started with gambling, and we'll stop there. Thanks so much for listening to episode 21 of The Drive-By, sponsored by Playground. It's just minutes south of downtown Montreal in the Mohawk territory of Ganawage. I'm your host every single Sunday, beginning at 1 p.m., as we give you thousands of dollars with our newest game show, Chase the Ace, with a rolling $25,000 progressive jackpot. Then on finale night on July 3rd, someone is guaranteed to win. That's, once again, a guarantee to win a brand new 2022 fully electric Mazda MX-30. If you don't win the electric vehicle, we've got you covered. Check out Free Gas Tuesdays, because that'll come in handy. You know how expensive gas is nowadays. Collect a $10 gas card for every 1,500 reward points earned while playing electronic gaming devices between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. 2 nightly draws at 7 and 8 p.m., giving you additional chances to earn $50 to $500 gas cards. Thanks to Playground, you could click on the link right now if you're watching on YouTube and get $10 of Freeway Play, or if you're listening in on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts, then go to playground.ca/freewayfrank to get you started towards your winnings today. Thank you to Playground for sponsoring episode 21. So I wanted to ask you, because I saw you do a video, stand-up video, and it made me laugh. And I know it's probably part of your gig, and I know some comedians hate.
Yes, doing stand-up is generally aimed at making people laugh.
But
nailed it.
But some people don't like talking about some of the content that's on their shows. So, but I'm going to still ask you, and you can tell me to fuck off. I'm not going to talk about it. But you bought a canoe at Costco, and I saw that video. I was literally on the fucking floor laughing, because it's so true. You go into Costco to buy fucking $100 of groceries. You walk out of there with. Did that really happen?
$750 2 days ago. Seriously, I went there 2 days ago. Didn't even buy the things that I went there. They had these garden chairs.
Yeah.
So one of my kids, God bless the little angels that they are, fuckface. When I closed down the yard last year, put all the chairs in the shed.
Yeah.
At one point, once I've done a job, it's done, right? But then my friends are coming over. He took the chairs back out, and I'm like, la merde, you put them away. And he didn't. So they stayed out there all winter. Then fucking fat ass that he is goes out there and sits on them this year. They fall apart because they've been out in the snow. So anyway, I need new chairs. So I went to Costco thinking I'm going to buy these chairs. I had the wrong car with me. I don't think they're going to, but I still left with $750 worth of shit. How did this happen?
It's crazy.
I talk about it in my act that sometimes I think they're not even scanning the things that I bring. They ask you before they start doing the beep beep beep. They say, "Can I have your card?" And as soon as they scan the card, they're like,
they jam you.
Say, "Monsieur 750." It doesn't matter what we beep. It's gonna be $750. We don't care. Like this time, she was like, she felt I was a bit short. She's like, "It's time to renew your membership." I'm like, "Of course it is." Yeah. There's another $120 to get me right to the $750 mark. You bitch.
So was it true then? Did you take up canoeing or?
No, I didn't take up canoeing. I have a fucking canoe though. If you need to borrow one, you just because they trick you. Costco again. Like you go there to buy peanut-free snacks for your kids' fucking lunch and some pork chop, and you leave with a canoe or a fucking fire pit. What did I buy this week? I bought some algicide, and I wasn't even sure I needed it, but I'm like, kiss 17,000 gallons of algicide. I'm never going to run out. Let's buy that.
Oh, man. So when did you know that? Was it because, like I asked Frank the same question, he always thought his parents were funny, so he started doing like, observational type of comedy. When did you know, when did it hit you, I would imagine at a young age, that you were a funny guy, like you're a funny guy? When did it first hit you?
I don't know. So my best friend, his name's Chad. I always thought he was, like in our little duo, he was the funny one. He was the funny one. I guess I always had a good sense of humor, but I was very shy. But I would be class clowny because to me, to make the grandiose, silly thing, that was easier than being funny with just 2 or 3 people or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. I just, once I tried stand-up, I was immediately addicted to that. The performance side. Yeah. Really performing is what I wanted to do. When I quit my job, it was to be an actor. I was trying to be I was trying to be a full-time actor. And then that went straight down the toilet. Excuse me. As soon as I got in the union and the work pretty well dried up, I got the lead in 2 plays in a row, and I was like, oh man, I'm really good at this. And then I got in the union and like, no, you're not that good at this. You're just good for an amateur, I guess.
Were both your parents French, Francophone?
No, well, they're both. So both my grandfathers are French. Goyette and Seguin. My mom was definitely raised more English, but like her father was French her whole life. My father was. So my father. It's weird too. Like so, my sister fully English.
Wow.
Like struggles with French.
Here in Montreal, or
here in Montreal? Nice. Yeah, she lives here in Brassard. Actually,
okay.
She worked for the post office. My father has a sister and a brother who don't speak very well in French. Yeah. Then he has 2 other brothers that are French, and their kids are French, and so it's weird. I think I'm more of a product than my own family because my dad left. I think I was a teen.
Yeah.
not left, but whatever. I never lost touch with him or whatever. But so he just socialized French, so he was kind of culturally more French. My mother socialized English, and so it's very mixed up. And in fact, so my kids are kind of socialized English, and my girlfriend's very English. She's
nice.
Nova Scotian. Newfoundlander, actually. In my act, she's from Newfoundland, so I better stick to that. But so I spent 2 years with these 4 fucking English people. I went to do a French show on Tuesday at the L'Abreuvoir, and I can't speak French. My French is all fucked up. I'm throwing in English word. I'm like, I have no identity anymore. I have no language that I speak well.
Yeah. Did you start in French, your stand-up, and then you decide? What made you decide? Well, I have a few guesses, but what made you decide to go the English route? Did you just think you were going to be more accessible to a bigger market? And by the way, you're for a francophone. I mean, not even for a francophone. You're fantastic, very quick-witted in English. I've never even seen you do the French stand-up. But did you start off with your own language?
I started in English because I didn't even know where French stand-up was happening.
Yeah,
like I met a guy. Like I was a fan of stand-up, but like on TV, right? So the English stand-up I saw on TV was like The Tonight Show and things like that. And it was only meeting this one guy, Kevin Gazior, at a Christmas party at the Gazette of all place. Somebody introduced him as a comedian. I'm like, what do you mean you're a comedian? Because to me, comedians were Carlin, Richard Pryor, Bob Newhart, like people that you see on TV. It was only in meeting him that it occurred to me that there's a career progression, right? That you start off open mic and then you work your way up, and then it never even occurred to me before. I didn't even give it the thought. It was just like, oh yeah, stand-up comedy, it's these super famous fucking people, but they had to start somewhere too, right? And so it was only meeting Kevin that I realized, there's a trajet de carrière that you have to do. So I'm like, I never heard of you, and you're gonna do stand-up? Well, let me try. And he's like, yeah, come on. And I was a client of his, so he was being probably overly indulgent with me. I was working in an ad agency, and he worked at the Gazette. So, and he says, "Yeah, I'll bring you to an open mic if you want to come." And I went, and I was like immediately addicted to it. The whole world, I was 30 at the time, and this is the age where your friends are starting to like play beer hockey league or going to the gym or whatever, and I'm like, well, I'm a smoker alcoholic. These things are not going to work for me as a hobby. Let's do. I'm like, this could be my hobby. Like going, because there's an adrenaline rush with it.
Huge.
I immediately felt that. Like I would be in a good mood for days. And I was at 30. I was feeling the pressure. I had 2 kids and a wife and a mortgage, and I was like, oh God, am I trapped in this thing? This was great for me to go and just, I was only doing 7 or 8 minutes at a time, but I would have this great adrenaline ruch. So I was immediately addicted. I wanted to do it. Never occurred to me again then that it would be a job. I was doing it for me to go. And so to have a hobby, like barring bowling or curling, I've got this hobby where I can drink and smoke while doing the hobby. I'm like, tabarnak, I won the lottery. And my dad had just passed away a couple of years before that, and I was like, oh my God, Omer would be so jealous. Especially when they started paying me for it. I'm like, oh my God, my dad would freak out. They just gave me $50 to talk about my dick and drink beer and smoke cigarettes. This is the best. This is what he was working toward his whole life.
Amazing. So did at any point, did you ever find the Quebec public ever, and I'm just asking because I have no idea, turn on you because you did go the English side? Did you ever have any critics, or did anybody ever say, Derek, pourquoi pas en français? Why are you doing it? Because, the minute, like even at the Guy Lafleur, and I knew this was happening, I was watching the Guy Lafleur funeral in between recording a podcast, and I'm like, oh, there's way too much English during this funeral. Somebody's going to say something, and somebody did from the Journal de Montréal. They don't let an opportunity go by. Did that happen to you in terms of your comedy being English?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm big enough in any language for anybody to really care.
But they know you. I mean, you're well known. I mean,
I've done stuff. I've done stuff in French and in English. I've done stuff on TV in French. Although last summer I did a Juste pour rire gala, and I found out a couple months ago that they cut me right out of it. So I don't think I'm as good in French because there's a different pace. There's a different tempo in French that I don't appreciate. So I'm trying to force my own idea of what it should feel like. And sometimes the publics, they don't jump on board, right? But starting in English was just because I didn't know where to do French stand-up. And then once you started doing at the club, like the first time I did French stand-up was at the Comedy Zone. It's an English club that did one night a week. Sunday nights they did French stand-up. Back then there was no French comedy club. So, but I guess I was doing I was doing stand-up whenever I could at the beginning. But I guess I had more success. My star took off faster in English. So you go where the money is. And now I just enjoy doing it more in English. But like it's funny you say in French, I wouldn't say that they judge me like, oh, you turned your back on us. It's more, because Mike Ward, he started in English also.
Yeah.
But his star took off faster in French. So he went there and he's a huge mega star now. But it's more like, so Mike Patterson, do you know Mike Patterson?
Yeah.
He's killing it in French right now, which is, he's the perfect... He's very big personality, right? Say it's almost they think it's a personnage, but fucking get to know that is who he is.
Guy.
It's not, he actually is like that. He is a Burger King manager. He'd be happy I say that. That's
I'm sure.
That's the identity he's after.
Yeah.
But people will ask Mike though, knowing that he's an English comic, like, hey, does Derek Seguin still do comedy? And Mike's like, yeah, he was just nominated for a Juno and fucking.
When were you nominated? Like
the year last
before.
month, but last year.
For what category? I'm sorry for not knowing.
What category?
Yeah, well, comedy.
For opera, obviously. No. For my fucking.
Maybe I had a couple of
my
drinks.
Sonnets, my fucking.
But I mean, is
concerto of fucking.
Best new artist, dance category. No, but I mean,
there's only
one
stand-up category.
There's only one, so it's just comedy.
Stand-up, yeah.
Stand-up. Okay, I didn't
actually
know
comedy. It is comedy because one of them was a musical act.
Yeah.
One of them was a musical act.
I should know that, Derek, because having been in music radio for so long, but I didn't know what the category was. So, funny enough, I was having this conversation with a couple of comedians in the last few podcasts, and then it happened. It's almost like. It was pretty easy to predict.
Oh, the Chappelle thing?
It happened, yeah.
Fuck.
How did you react? First of all, I mean, it's surreal when you see it happening in front of you, but I just knew it was going to happen based on the other events that happened prior. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Fuck. That's... my first thought was everybody should be scared. Not just comedians. Everybody should be scared. Like politicians should be scared. It's like things that were just unthinkable before. He's the best. Like he's
the top.
It's like fucking Billie Eilish or bigger even fucking Madonna or name the biggest Beyonce, right? In music, fucking Johnny Depp.
He's the Michael Jackson
coming out of the courthouse.
Comedy.
Somebody like it's like things that you would never. First of all, I don't know the story with this Chappelle thing. I have to assume that this person have mental health issues. They talked about how he was diagnosed with things. Did the Will Smith thing plant a seed in that guy's head?
Yeah.
I can't say for certain, but yes, that is a thing that crossed my mind. But he is our king. He is the guy. He is the number one fucking guy. For most people, most comedians will say,
love him.
There's a lot of great comics, Louis C.K. being one too. That's another whole other story. Gets blacklisted and then wins the Grammy, and I'm like,
wow,
fuck, thank you industry for not being, because he could, regardless. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation if you want to get into it.
Yeah,
but there's security there. Like Dave Chappelle has his own security, and now the event has security.
What happened?
How did this guy? Like, it's just.
Did you see him? What the guy looks like now?
He was a big. He was a big guy. Yeah.
No, did you see what happened to the guy who went on stage?
Oh, they tackled him.
Stomped
Yeah.
him.
They gave him a beating. Yeah.
There's videos of him outside.
That's Jared.
His arm is like a lightning bolt.
Yeah,
he's got 4 elbows now.
But when he hit Chappelle, 'cause my wife and I were watching this, he didn't hit him full on. It's almost like he missed. Did you notice that? He
tackled him like football tackle.
Yeah, but he meant like.
But Chappelle's about 200 pounds. This guy's 140 pounds.
Right.
But he had a knife on him. What if?
He did have a knife.
Yeah, he had a knife.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
He had a knife shaped like a gun.
Really?
Like a gun.
I heard he was a rapper, like a new.
Yeah, he's got 31,000 followers. Yeah, 80,000 followers.
80,000 followers, and he had a song called Dave Chappelle. It's fucked up, man.
I can't help but think that that's a mental illness or crazy sort of trying to create a celebrity for yourself. I don't know, but it just, to me, it was like nobody's safe because he's the top of the food chain.
Exactly.
You know, like Tom Cruise. Could Tom Cruise be attacked? You know, like Tom Cruise. What's different about stand-up, or the similarity between stand-up and music, is that we're often in front of live, giant crowd of people. Whereas your Tom Cruises are often just with a crew of people, and there's way more them than there are people actually walking by. But it was very frightening to me. It's always happened. Like, we comics have been talking about it, that it's, you know, a lot of guys that where it happened. When I mentioned I got COVID a few weeks ago, I probably shouldn't talk about it. I won't name who it is, but I got COVID in the middle of a weekend of shows at a club in Ottawa. Okay. And I was taking the test every morning just for my own conscience, right? Just I'm going to be hugging people, taking pictures, shaking hands, whatever. So I was just doing it, and then doesn't I test positive on Saturday morning? I'm like, man, no, I'm fine. I feel hungover, but I feel like this every day.
No difference.
So I do another one, and then I do one of the expensive ones there that we could use to travel. And I'm positive. I'm like, tabarnak. I'm like, my girlfriend's like, bro, this is like $6,000 left of shows. You can't walk away. We need, mama needs a fucking horsey, whatever. And I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna at least tell the promoter.
Yeah.
And if he says fuck it, just stay away from everybody. But that's not what happened. I was like, no, we can't. It's so hot. Everyone was getting it at that point.
Yeah.
Like which that's the whole thing about going back to your first question. Did they handle it right? Clearly not, because they get 74 vaccines and don't touch anything and Purell your hands, and then fucking everybody. Maybe we're gonna take off the mask in 3 weeks, and then everyone I know has it. I'm like, well, clearly you didn't. It's like it wasn't government mandated licking everybody, but yet still everyone's getting it. So I had to forego this show. Luckily, I have a good friend that recently moved to Ottawa. He's a top-notch, you'd say world-class headliner that just happens to live in Ottawa now with his girlfriend. So we called him and like, can you step in? He's like, yeah, I just got back. I can do tonight and tomorrow, no problem.
Nice.
Great. At least my fans will have a great show. And I'm like, he's fucking great. I might lose fans because he's so good. So, well, on the late show. So his girlfriend that he moved to Ottawa to live with, is also a comic. So she was opening for him, because the promoter wanted to change everybody. Everybody that was on the show with me, in case they're gonna be contagious, switched everybody out. Now it's bring you and your girlfriend and one other people. We fixed the show. So there's guys in the front row chirping her while she's on, and just being shitty audience members, drunk asshole kind of guys. And so he goes up there with a kind of a chip on the shoulder, and he's not like he's
threatening, or
he's not a mumun. No, he's not the guy that took my place, which I don't want to name. If you were there, you'll know what I'm talking about, but otherwise I don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
But he's not going to take
anybody's shit. He's not a pushover.
He's not going to take your shit on the hockey rink. He's not going to take your shit in the grocery store. So he's not going to take your shit at that. So you fucked with his girlfriend. Now he went up there and like, you're a dickhead, whatever, little insults to shut everybody up. And they're coming, when people are so drunk, they don't even know that they've just been humiliated. And so they're just like, yeah. And so he was like, whatever happened, I think maybe a drink was thrown, and then eight guys stormed the stage and started pounding the shit out of my friend, which I'm sure he gave as good as he got.
This happened recently.
It happened the day after the night I had to I was supposed to be on that stage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, would this have happened if I was there? Definitely not the same way, but it could have happened. But what was worse is I feel like these are my people that bought tickets to see my show, and now this is happening to my friend. I felt really, and then he was like, "That doesn't matter. I don't give a shit." If any, he's like, "I'm sorry to you if I broke your fan's nose," and I'm like, "I'm sorry if I can say." But it was like that was 1 week after the Will Smith thing, and I'm like, is this gonna be a new thing? Like, that we have to deal with this? So, and like again, we were talking outside before the show that I'm getting older. I'm not a fucking mumun or nothing like that, but I've got like maybe 5 seconds of fight in me, and then I'm like, like I better do all my damage, like tack, 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 and then fucking tap out. I need a fucking tag team partner. And that.
But I mean, the conversations I had with my comic friends, I mean, it must weigh on you. I mean, there must be a part of you that thinks about shit, because you never want to be at a point, Derek, where you're censoring yourself. I mean, that's not what a comic should ever do.
No.
But we're living, as you know, in this world now, this woke and crazy. Do you ever, like, when you're sitting down, especially during the last couple of years of COVID, you're writing a joke, are you thinking about, if I write this, somebody could, attack me?
No.
That's not the way you do comedy, right?
We talked about this at the beginning of the interview. I have a different style. I'm realizing than a lot of guys is that I'm very sensitive to people.
Okay.
So if I have 500 people in the room, there's somebody that could be, so I try to come at everything without being too harsh one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stupid people are the most dangerous people. People that are ignorant and just like below average intelligence they're dangerous people because they don't know how stupid they are.
Yeah.
So, but it has happened to me. But you can't censor yourself, because I've learned doing this as long as I have that people. I've said this in other interviews. Mark Forward is a fantastic Canadian comedian. He has a joke about specifically that it's people will laugh at everything. Like right now, transsexual, non-binary, the all gender role. That's a hot topic right now. So I'm not going to delve into it, but I do have little things to say that I'm aware that it's happening. But Mark's joke is something to the effect that, like, you could do a trans joke, you could do a borderline homophobic joke, you could do a joke about cancer, and then you do a joke about psoriasis. And, well, that's not funny, Marsha. You know how I've struggled with my psoriasis. That's a Mark Forward joke. Yeah. So that's what I've learned, is that no matter what you do, like, I try to be sensitive to everyone. I'm not trying to be a dick about anything. And I feel with having no ill intention to hurt, as long as my intention isn't to hurt anybody specific or as a group, then I'm doing my job. Can I avoid hurting some people or having some people be sensitive about things? No. Like, I had a guy one time, I was in Halifax. I used to do this joke about the first time I visited PEI. And I was like, oh my God, this is the last province I've never been to before. I'm so excited. And you're Googling PEI. I'm like, what the fuck? There's some bitch with a bonnet on that lives in a Grable or something. And then potatoes. We need potatoes. Fucking Quebec. That's our Poutine partner. This is great. And then you get to PEI and like, that's it. It's fucking potatoes. That's it. I'm like, la merde, asti, on sac, on calisse notre camp. And then they charge you $80 to leave the province. I'm like, asti, fucking gamic these fucking guy have. It's free to come into this shithole, but they charge you $80 to leave.
Get out.
With or without potatoes.
Yeah.
On the bridge.
Yes, the Confederation.
Well, I'm doing that joke, and a guy stands up in the middle of that joke, smashes his beer on the floor, and is like, fuck you, man! Potato farming is hard! And he fucking run out of the room smashing shit. And I'm like, what? And then after the show, people are like, we're sorry about Jimmy. His dad.
Everybody knew him.
His dad just fucking died, and he was a potato farmer, so he's very sensitive. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to say about that. I used to do a thing about food allergies too.
Yeah.
And it's a corporate show. The guy requests that joke that he saw on the internet.
Yeah.
Turns out he had an employee who lost their daughter to a peanut allergy like 9 months earlier. That's moron that you don't know. Like, as if you don't know that somebody you work with, didn't fucking put the two together.
So the guy walked out?
No, she didn't. Nobody. I didn't even notice that there was a case in the room. Yeah. But the next morning, I woke up. I had like 8 emails from people like, "You motherfucker! I'm gonna find your kid and murder your kid and see how you feel. How funny it is if you're with a dead kid." I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?" Then eventually I'm like, "Oh, it's that joke, okay." And then finally, the lady wrote me, not as mean.
Yeah.
She's like, "Just so you know, that really ruined my week, my night, whatever. My daughter." I forget her name. That's terrible. Whatever. Pass away, and I was like, "Oh my!"
Crushing. Yeah, but
I am so sorry, and so sorry. If I would have known, I never would have. Is there something I can do? Do you have a foundation for her? She's like, yes. Food Allergy Canada. You can make a donation in her name. I'm like, it's my pleasure to do that. I'm going to do it right now.
You're a good guy.
So we transfer back and forth. But then she ultimately is like, you know what, Derek, this has been nice. I actually do feel better. Thank you very much. It's not every day in today's day and age that you can find a grown man that will admit when he's wrong. And I was like, oh, sorry, madam. I'm not admitting I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I think the joke still is valid. I'm a sensitive man and care about people's feeling. I wouldn't have done it if I'd known you or somebody in your situation was in the room, but I don't want you to think I'm never doing that joke again.
No.
And she's like, well, no, you can't. And I'm like, well, listen, what if your mother died of cancer? I can't do cancer jokes. What if somebody was abused as a child? I can't do that. I can't not do things that make, every person is sensitive about one thing. What if, say, one person was born with only one nipple? I can't do nipple jokes. So I was like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to agree to disagree. I'm very sorry I hurt your feelings. I'm not sorry I wrote the joke. And she was like, well, okay, we'll have to agree to disagree. And I'm like, I hope you can forgive me for hurting your feelings, though. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody.
No,
I'm a
of course
comedian.
not.
I want to make people laugh. I want to bring joy around. So that taught me that I can't, as long as my intention is not to hurt anybody, then I'm not going to censor myself. But I'm a sensitive person, so I'm not going to write jokes that are targeting any group, except like the government or people that have publicly acted fucking stupid. I don't mind calling them on that.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing is, and I've had this chat with so many comics, is within the context of comedy, like I was a big Norm Macdonald fan. He said a lot of things. I'm not sure if you watched the Norm Macdonald podcast leading up to his death. He was doing it for, if you ever get a chance, go on YouTube.
Oh, the video ones. Yeah,
the video.
I did.
They're brilliant.
He's very funny. Who did he have on that? I thought Jane Fonda. When he had Jane Fonda,
he had on
so
Jerry
great.
Seinfeld, and he has a Jewish co-host, and I can't remember his name, but he
Brandon.
Brandon, and then he made.
I played poker with those two guys. Like
really?
6 months before. Yeah.
And there was always a dry humor, and he was brilliant at his comedy. But his co-host was Jewish, and he'd make Holocaust jokes. Right, you've seen them.
If anyone can do it, it's him.
And if anybody could do it, it's Norm Macdonald. And again, within the context of, and that's what happened with Jimmy Carr, right? He made an inappropriate Holocaust joke, which got him into trouble. But again, the brilliance of the joke, when you hear the joke, it's like you almost feel bad saying it. It's funny, but in the context of comedy. Now, if somebody's saying that exact joke on the Metro,
right,
it's not funny.
It's different. That's it.
So that's my whole thing.
And even in comedy, from the context of one show to another show, like Jimmy Carr show should be nothing is off limits because people know he says crazy things. A roast, for instance.
It's a roast, yeah.
You could say, like, there was the one, there was one where Pete Davidson was on the panel. Brilliant. Yeah. And I think Jimmy Carr said something like, something like.
Oh, about 9/11.
Yeah, about 9/11. Like,
that was bad.
This is the first time that Pete Davidson's dad was happy he was fucking in the World Trade Center that day. Something terrible like that. But
again, in the context of the roast, funny.
Yeah.
Him saying that at a party, he's a a jerk, right? So that's what I think people need to distinguish. And I think that's where we're in a time now, 2022, it just seems like with every week going by, comedy is getting more and more
individual
vulnerable.
Idiots and fucking Karens. I think that Karen is such a great, I love the term because it encompasses so much shit.
Yeah.
But each individual has been granted too much power. Just the platform of social media, but
that's the problem.
Like, I'm immune to it. Like I hear people saying stupid shit. I'm like, but then people are like, yeah, that's right. I know. And I'm like, who do you think you are? And I'm guilty of creating. I've created 3 of these delusions of self-importance fuckface that live with me. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Not lifting the toilet seat and pissing. I'm gonna fucking murder you. But you can't say that to a bitch at the grocery store that fucking say is taking fucking avocados and throwing them over her shoulder. But you want to.
Yeah, of course.
People think they're so important. They're not. You're nobody. You're fucking nothing. You're one of 8 billion people on this planet, which is one of 10 gazillion fucking, who knows? We don't know.
Out there.
You're so unimportant.
Yeah.
Even the most important person is so
irrelevant.
unimportant.
Yeah. So you had a podcast for a while with Abdul, but I invited Abdul here, but he got the fuck out of Quebec. He moved to Florida, right?
Yeah, he moved to Florida.
So is that when the podcast ended? Because I thought I saw a couple of episodes. They were very funny, and then it just ended. So what's happening with that?
It ended a little bit before that. What happened was we started it I think 6 weeks before the pandemic started, and then so Abdul's got, his dad's got health issues, so he was kind of paranoid about it. But again, like what we were just talking about, he was paranoid about it, but in his own way. I'm going to do this and this and this, but Dad, I don't want to do that. I'm going to Purell my whatever. So he refused though to hang out with me because he thinks I'm Joe Careless, which is something I wanted to point out early when I was doing those commercial.
Yeah.
Say whether I wanted the vaccine or not, whether I wanted to wear the mask or not, I was doing my thing for the sake of my family. I was doing everything I thought was good to protect my family for my thing. Like you I think said too.
Yeah.
Why is all these fucking people telling us what to do? Through that, since the dawn of time, we take care of our own the best that we can. See, that's where I was like all these mandated things. I'm going to try to protect my family the best I can. If one gets sick, who's going to be in charge of trying to nurse them back to health? It's going to be me. So, but Abdul, just because of my persona, I guess, on stage, was assuming that I was like, COVID, yeah, this is my opportunity to go lick everything I can. I want fucking homeless people. Let me lick it between your toes, sir. I don't know what the fuck he thought, but he was like, I'm not going near you. I don't want to get my dad sick. But then we had different opinions about it, and our friendship was getting strained. We would be talking on the podcast, and he'd be like, oh, you and you're gallivanting around, you're letting your kids go do what they want. I'm like, fuck, bro, I'm taking care of my don't you fucking worry, all right? And it was straining our friendship. So I'm like, I think we have to stop doing this until we can actually sit in a room together and hang out outside, because we weren't hanging out. Right, we would start doing the podcast because we were friends. We would tour together, we would hang out, we would socialize.
So you were doing it
for dinner
via Zoom?
Via Zoom. Okay. At the end, the first 6 weeks we did it
via Zoom
together.
I saw.
And then they hit Zoom. Yeah. And I just found we were bickering the whole time, and I was starting to resent him. I'm like, bro, let's just stop there. We're not making any money. Yeah, we're not. He was thinking I'm not taking it seriously. Oh, you're always late, and I'm like, oh, I'm fucking living a life, bro. I don't know. It's Zoom. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
He went to Florida.
Yeah, he did.
He lives in Florida.
Well, no, I think he.
Yeah, Mr. Sensitive about COVID is going. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
No, but the thing is,
fucking millennial. Things is like. But his opinion's the only one that matters.
He moved a couple of months.
Fuck you, Abdul.
By the way, I love Abdul, and I thought he was brilliant on This Hour's 22 Minutes. Right?
Yeah, yeah. He did that Bill Cosby thing.
Yes, he's a very funny guy.
That's how he lost his
But
job.
I get the feeling, having moved to Florida.
And I'm just kidding. Not fuck you, Abdul. I'm just.
He said it. I mean,
I love you.
But you know what? Yeah, I think your love shows. But but he moved to Florida, so I think it seems, and he seems to like a lot of my posts. I say a lot of shit, Derek. Yeah. So if you follow me, I don't know if you follow me yet, but maybe you might unfollow me within a couple of this guy c'est trola. But I think he seems to have, maybe changed his mind like we all did over time, because he moved to a red state.
We're all in this evolving
mess,
trying to figure out what the hell is
going on. Yeah.
He tweets things that I'd be like, I would never do that, because I read it and I'm like, ooh, that has the potential to upset people. So I am
risque.
I don't censor myself according to your sensibility or other. But I do censor myself, because I'm like, I don't need this shit. Like sometimes I read posts of other people and I'm like, you stupid, and I'll even type it out. That's so fucking short-sighted. Why am I engaging with this fucking? I don't know who he is. Yeah. I don't need this. No. I just delete it. But he'll post what he really thinks. Sometimes I'm like, oh, paquet de trucs qui s'en vient.
No, but that's the thing. A lot of the posts he makes are edgy and controversial. Yeah, for sure. But I could see where,
But I'm the asshole because I smoke too much and drink too much. Come on.
Doing all right so far. So what's next for you? What's happening with... So I'm curious if eventually you're going to... Have you toured in the States at all? Because I think your stuff would be really... And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I think your stuff would be funny in America too, because I think so too. It works.
But I would have to start all over. I don't have to answer your question. I've done some shows in the States, but I don't have a working visa. I don't have a visa or anything.
Okay, yeah, I guess you need one.
But like I did America's Got Talent, and I got...
You were on America's Got Talent?
Well, I didn't make the broadcast. Abdul actually came with me, and he recorded the set so I could show it to people that don't believe me.
So you auditioned?
I auditioned, got 4 yeses. They shot I didn't have to do the first audition. Nice. I was invited as a working comic. Okay. I did it, got 4 yeses. Mel B was flirting with me, and it was great. It was really great.
Anytime a standing
ovation. I got a standing ovation from the live audience.
Amazing.
And then for the next round or whatever the next round is. They were like, okay, you gotta talk to a producer to tell us what your next jokes are. And I'm like, okay, sure, let me know when. And they're like, okay, how about Friday at 8 o'clock, like 5 p.m. LA time, 8 o'clock your time? I'm like, no, I'm gonna be on stage that time. So okay, well, what about Sunday at fucking 2 p.m.? I'm like, well, I'm gonna be on a flight from that night. How about, and I was suggesting other times. And they're like, well, clearly you're not dedicated to this enough, so we're just gonna move on and find somebody else to do it. And I was like, well, fine, fuck you. It's not reality TV anyway. They were so contrived. When I was there, they're like, hey, can you walk around like you're really nervous and like wringing your hands and pretend you're sweating? I'm like, no, fuck you, 22-year-old production assistant, suck a dick. Bring me a beer if you want to get the real behind the scenes, stupid.
It's crazy, eh? When they tell you that there's a lot of stuff that
that did have an NDA, but it expired now, so I can say there's nothing fucking reality about these shows. And now Canada's Got Talent, which if you can, vote for Courtney Gilmore. She's a Canadian comic that's on Canada's Got Talent. She's really great.
When does that start? I saw the
They're in the semifinals now.
It's already started.
The finale. The finale is coming up for Courtney Gilmore. I hope she wins. It'd be nice to see a comic win. But they're all shit shows. Canada's Got Talent too. They're like, oh, you should come and do it. We heard about I'm like, yeah, you heard about them fucking me over and like. Because had I have made that show, the broadcast, and made it to that second show, I would have a visa now. They would have to pay for my visa because I'm performing on a television show in. You know what I mean? So now I'd be able to tour in this. It would have been
But you could still get, I'm almost sure you could get.
Pay for it myself. I could pay for it myself. Guess, It was just like, I'm not available, but I'm making a living in the thing that you want me to showcase on your show. Right. And that's annoying to you. Mm-hmm. Fuck off. See, it was just annoying. See, 2 beers and all the rage is coming out. So to answer your question, no, I don't tour in the States. I don't have the visa. I've done a few shows that we kind of booked through Canada, and the venue happened to be there. You have to be careful at the border. Yeah. But I'm more motivated to go to Europe, to be honest.
Oh, cool.
I would rather, I mean, America seems logical, but I want to do it for the experience of things, and I do well in Canada.
You do well.
I don't have that need to be like in Hollywood's next sweetheart or whatever. I'm happy to feed my family, support. I don't need to be a star anymore. I would love to just be able to play in places and make a good wage, but I mean, I'd have to recreate my reputation there.
Yeah, so your brand.
I don't want to start opening for people or whatever. You know, so.
Derek, I know you're fucking probably dying to have a cigarette, eh?
A little cigarette.
Yeah. So
maybe that's where the rage came from.
Maybe just a little. Listen, I thank you so much for coming by here. It's I know you just live a few minutes away, but it means a lot that you came on. You're again, dude. I don't have to say it. Is he not a funny guy? Funny guy, good fellas. Funny how? Like I make you laugh. I am music. You're honestly.
Thanks, man.
You every time I watch anything that has to do with you during this podcast, you naturally make me laugh out loud. And you're great, and I wish you continued success. And I hope at some point you come here and what can we build? Can we build another
we can build whatever
garden?
You want. I do electrical,
toilet,
plumbing.
Electrical, I really
do the plumbing. Well, no, I can do it right, but in my case, I just didn't want to invest the $7 in a thing. But if anybody listens out west, we're doing the Debaters. You know the Debaters?
Of course, I remember that show.
The Debaters Live is doing like a 7 or 8 city tour out west. So
when's that?
Starting on May 12th. Will this air by then?
Okay, so this will be airing after May. So we need dates that are after May 19th. Any dates after May 19th?
May 19th is the last night.
Oh,
it's
tonight.
In Banff. No, May 20th in Banff. So May 19th in Edmonton. The Debaters Live.
Nice.
Hopefully it'll be sold out, and this is just to fucking tease you. But
and that's all improv? For the most part?
No, the opening statement.
They give you the. Oh, okay.
And we're doing. It's a stand-up show, and it's
a little bit of both. Nice. Wasn't Chantal Desjardins on that once a long time ago?
I think she did it once or twice.
A long time. Are you friends with her?
Yeah.
Okay, because she's a friend of mine and love her. And then she got a gig in radio, so I don't think she'll ever come back on this show.
I don't get up early enough to listen to her very much, but
she's great.
But also, I have one more. June 11th. June 11th, if you live in the Sudbury, North Bay area, I'm at the Capitol Center in North Bay. It's 900 seats, so I feel that one needs a little bit of a plug.
That's amazing.
Drive up from Ottawa. It's only 4 hours.
6 from Montreal.
DerekSeguin.com. Whatever.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
Love your stuff and continue success. Hope to see you here again in the future, okay?
I hope so, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Well, you're very close. I might get a flat tire and just come by.
You might just show up. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 21 of The Drive-By. It is brought to you by Playground. And don't forget to grab your $10 in Freeway Play by going to playground.ca/freewayfrank. Or if you're watching this episode 21 right now on YouTube, just click on the link below and we'll get you started towards possibly winning a huge jackpot on me. $10 out of my pocket to yours. There's something for everyone at Playground. If you're not into the electronic gaming devices, on the other side, it's a poker player's dream with massive bad beat jackpots. We've seen them climb way over $1 million. Very exciting. Find out why everyone is talking about and going to Playground. And again, for all the promotions that are happening, go to playground.ca and we'll see you there this Sunday for Chase the Ace. Thank you to Playground for sponsoring this episode of The Drive-By.
This is The Drive-By with Freeway Frank.
Watch all episodes of The Drive-By on YouTube. Listen in on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Podbean, and tune in.